We go. So,
Awesome.
hey everyone, I'm Danielle Lee, founder of hashtag It Didn't Crush Me and Momentum Integrative Health Solutions. After losing everything I thought made me strong, I stopped bouncing back and started building better. This show is where emotional healing meets inflammation, science, and where high functioning humans come to take their power back in body, in business, and in life. We test, not guess. We heal, we don't hustle, and we create next level health for next level living. Let's get into it because it didn't crush me. So, guys, this one is for you ladies. I want to make sure that you tag yourselves, share this with your husbands because the guys are constantly being left out. And I'm really excited because today I'm here with George Ward. He has spent 18 years in the preventative healthcare world. He's managed over 12 outpatient clinics, operations, and delivery of care to patients to ensure that they live a longer, thriving life. George, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about you, who you are, how health and wellness and health optimization is really kind of your thing now, and I'll just go over here and tag you.
No worries. Oh man, well, thank you for the opportunity. Yes, so a little bit about me. All right, well, healthcare, I could say that I wasn't seeking healthcare. Healthcare kind of sought me out, right? When you start to really realize how at times the system has been broken for a lot of individuals, and not to really go into much depth about that, but we've all experienced some form of disappointment with the healthcare system, right? And as things have been progressing, I realized that there needs to be a change in this space. Kind of give you a backstory. Born in Philadelphia, lived in Freeport, Bahamas for a number of years, and then relocated from Freeport, Bahamas to South Florida. Right, I've been living in South Florida for the past, I want to say, 41 years. And yes, I have my Penn State hat because I did attend the university. I did attend Penn State University, played football there.
We
Uh,
won't hold Penn State against you.
oh my God, here you go. Okay, whatever.
OH.
Look. Now, I mean, look. We almost was at the big dance, But that's another conversation. My Buckeye buddies are gonna have a lot of side comments about this, so we're gonna leave that alone. But went to Penn State, had great times, and then realized that in the healthcare space, especially sports medicine, a lot of us athletes experience a lot of injuries, and then, when you're younger, it's easier to bounce back. But I realize, as I'm now 48 years old, as we get older, it's harder to bounce back. Right. And so when I got introduced to healthcare, I want to say, 19 years ago, I came in, um, focused more on operations and hiring for wound care, right? Wound care specific providers in an outpatient setting, just so that they could drive successful outcomes in the underserved geriatric population, right? And so that was kind of starting to trigger my mindset in a more preventative approach, because I saw that firsthand as to what happens when individuals don't have access to quality care. They don't take a preventative approach. Their sores, their sicknesses become septic, and end of life is not really the best quality of it. Then I grew into this organization that I'm with right now, where I manage now 12 outpatient clinics. Been in this space with this organization for the past, heck, 10 years, and really have seen again what happens when that people are not really getting their hands on the best preventative measures to live a better quality of life as we get older. Knocking on wood, we all will fall or arrive, right? Arrive to that geriatric demographic, 65 and up, right? Knock on wood, right? And at that demographic space, things are a lot different, right? Medical bills are a lot higher. Wages to living ratio, if that's even a word, is a gap, right? And knowing that the number one driver for bankruptcies in this country was not COVID, it wasn't, it's not divorce, or it's not layoffs. It's actually medical costs, right? And knowing that the best way to cure a thing, Danielle, is to prevent one from happening, I realized that, you know, preventative is definitely the way to go if I myself and also my loved ones want to live a better quality of life. Simple as that. Um, Peptides, right? Now, to get to peptides, when I got introduced to peptides, I want to say probably almost a year ago.
Well, let me interrupt you for 1 second because there's nothing like working in, and I use the term our healthcare industry very loosely because we know it's a sick care system, but there's nothing like being exposed
Mm,
on the internal workings of our medical system to let you know just how broken it is and let you realize you do not want to be at the mercy of someone else in control of your health and well-being. And what I try to tell people is your wellness, your longevity, your vitality, that is your responsibility. It is not your doctor's responsibility. Unless you're really, really ill or sick, that's when you seek medical care. The rest is for us to take into our own hands. And I know that you spent a lot of time searching for lots of options. And at the time, they were probably the best things that you could find out there. But then all of a sudden, we keep hearing this magic word peptides, peptides,
correct.
peptides. And you came across them a little faster than I did. So why don't you go ahead and share, with people
Oh,
what
wow.
that experience has been like for you?
Oh, man, Danielle, yeah. And so my introductory to peptides, my buddy and I, we knew very little about it, right? Knew nothing about it. Um, Aside from the big pink elephant in the room, which is the GLP-1s and all that stuff there, and realizing that, insulin, is a peptide as well too, right? Insulin, I mean, peptides been around for well over 100 years, and knowing that peptides are just branch chains of amino acids. So we make them on our own.
Right. They exist in our bodies. And let's just give a little quick delineation for people. I was listening
Yeah,
to a doctor last night. And so this chain of amino acids in your body, if it's 50 or less, it's called a peptide. If it's more
correct.
than 50, it's protein.
That's it. Like
We're
that's
talking about a class of things. When we're using the words peptides, just in the audience, we're talking about a class of things that are really, really good inside your body.
correct. That we already make, but have stopped making over time, right? And so when I got exposed to peptides, did further due diligence and realized the safety that comes with it, and realized their profile, right? High benefit profile, low risk or any side effect profile. I was like, okay, duh, no brainer, right? No brainer. Um, but then I wanted to find out what was going to be right for me because again, I'm 48 years old. Guys, listen, we all experience that hormonal shift. It's not just the women, it's us men as well too. With women they call it perimenopause. I like to coin ours as manopause, right? We experience that shift, right? And the thing about it is a lot of times we don't know how to address it, midlife crisis, midlife shift, whatever you want to call it. We all experience it. And so what I found out was through peptides, and the ones that I use specifically as far as my preference is the Samoilin peptide. I also use the Wolverine stack, which is the BPC 157 TB 500. And I also like to couple those two with NAD plus.
Okay, so let me stop you for real quick. So just to kind of give everybody an idea of what we're talking about. Again, guys, this is for you from a man's perspective. So I'm going to have some questions because we know you're not going to ask them. And it's interesting because George, you said something to me and you hit the nail right on the head before we got on here live. And it's, that women, when something's off, when it's not perfect, when we're feeling something, when we're noticing a change, what do? We start digging around, we start investigating, we start asking questions, we seek support, we seek community. Like we are advocates, but we're not just advocates for us. We're the advocates for our families, for our children, and ladies, which is why I said you need to share this with your husbands, is because you are the advocates for them. Because men typically, in George's words, he said it so perfectly, men, they tend to, when they find or feel that something is off, something has changed, we like to suffer in silence because we are in a society where the conditioning of the masculinity is just so extreme. We are coming through a baby boomer generation where you just don't talk about any of that. You don't talk about things that could be perceived as weakness. We need to keep up our masculinity. So we haven't done a good job. Our parents and things did not do a real good job of teaching our kids how to talk about their feelings and emotions and what's going on, and it's okay to have those conversations. I think the generation we're raising, we're teaching them to do those things. So because y'all are not advocates for yourselves, it is not right. Suffering in silence is not an option. And so now
No,
you have options. And so, George, so you mentioned a couple peptides, and the couple peptides that he mentioned, they are not the weight loss peptides. They are not the GLP ones. We're talking about just anytime you hear the word peptide, I want you to start thinking longevity, optimization, health, that kind of thing, right? So make that connection like in the synapses of your brain, like that peptides equals something that's really, really good for you. So what is it that you were feeling that caused your ears to perk up when you realized that these peptides were pretty amazing and you actually had access to them?
man. So the first one I tried was Somorelin, which is the HGH peptide, right? It's a secretagogue, right? And so what it
And so
does,
we're talking about stimulating human growth hormone, everybody, just to kind of have an idea so you know what we're
and
talking about.
our own growth hormone that we make on our own, just however, over time we stop producing. So it's not an invader to our body. It's a complementary to our body. Simple as that, right? And so when I experienced the Moreland, I would have to say after my first injection, within a week, to be quite honest with you, within 3 days, I noticed a significant difference. I realized that when I went to the gym, I sweat less. I felt better. I had more endurance, and my goodness, it was the most amazing sleep. The most amazing sleep was on some morning. I mean, the recovery is instant. I mean, like I tell my buddies, I'm like, when you get on this, live to live tomorrow. I know you're gonna feel amazing. You're gonna feel like you could keep working out. I'm like, no, 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 no. Live to live tomorrow.
And so when you're talking about recovery, you're talking about recovery from a heavy workout, an intense workout. Is that what you mean?
110%. I mean, you just feel a lot more youthful. You're a lot more playful. I mean, you don't feel your age, to be brutally honest, right? Like, regardless of what the driver's license may say that your age is, bud, you're not going to feel that age, buddy. I assure you that, right? Guys, you're not going to feel that age. Like, you're not, right? And so I felt that also it helps with libido as well too. Guys, we always talk about that behind closed doors, right?
Can I ask you kind of a personal question?
Go
Because
right
again,
ahead.
we're trying to reach men where they are.
Hmm.
When you say you don't feel your age, like what is that, right? Like what are the things that you're kind of noticing as you're aging that you're like, man, it's harder to whatever, or I
Yeah,
wish I could
I
be doing
like
what I,
obviously when you're in your 20s and your early 30s, and even your mid 30s, your drive is through the roof, right? You still have that initiative, that tenacity, that if you will, right? When you get older, you lose a step. Simple as that, right? And not just one thing in all areas, right? Some men, not all men, some men. I don't want to generalize all, but for me personally, I was noticing a step back, right? And, you know, I just took that and accepted it as me just getting older, right? I was like, okay, well, I guess, because again, when everybody else around you is feeling the same exact way, you accept a step back as the new norm, right? Like, you're like, oh crap. Well, my buddies feel that same exact way. I mean, like, they're not we can't give birth, but my boys look pregnant, right? So it is what it is. I mean, we're just aging, right? And what you start to realize is that when you start aging and start just accepting that as the normacy of your life, it is what it is, right? And so it becomes a lot. It's very subtle. It's very subtle. Um, when I got on some Moreland, and obviously I've taken supplements as well too. So I mean, it's not like I don't take supplements. It's not like I don't eat right. It's not like I don't drink water. It's not like I do not have a very, I'm not active. I'm active. I'm very active. But I still noticed there was a dip, right? And so when I got on some Moreland, I realized that the little extra vigor that I used to have, I started to really start noticing those little blushes of that coming back. Um, I mean, like with my godchildren, I play with them all the time. They're like Uncle George, and like the my friends, they're like, oh, here comes Uncle G again. You know what he's going to do? Lift them all around and just be like, I'm present. Like I'm all in. I'm an Aries, so Aries. If you know anything about Aries, we're 100%. You know, when we're at our top level, we're at 100%. And so I was all in, right? And I was like, and I wasn't feeling the regrets of being so active. I wasn't feeling it in my elbows, my joints, my knees. I wasn't feeling it at all, right? I was happy-go-lucky. I was jovial, right? And I just felt great. I just felt absolutely great. Um, from a libido's perspective, I mean, look, guys, women talk about it. Your spouse talks about it, right? You don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear it, but it is what it is,
Healthy
right?
relationships need to have sex. Healthy relationships need to enjoy that intimacy.
110%. Guys, you know, in my humble opinion, you will be able to kind of, get back to some remnants of your youth, right? But here's the thing, peptides do not replace lifestyle, right? You're still going to have to eat clean. You're still going to have to change your daily habits. It doesn't replace it at all. You're still going to incorporate that, but it definitely accelerates the outcomes a lot faster and much bigger than without it, right? It's a huge value add,
So,
right?
George, kind of in this short term that I've gone down the rabbit hole and into this
Yep.
world of peptides and longevity, I'm finding that the driver of the decision making, the decision making reasons why somebody is looking at peptides, it's not weight loss or a particular symptom in its specificity. It's because they want a better quality of life.
Uh-huh.
They want to be doing more. And it's almost like I describe it for women, and you can tell me if this resonates with the male's perspective. I resonate, it's kind of like I want my body back. And it's not just the way my body looks, because that, I mean, that's a part of it, right? But I want it back to function so that I can do the things that I want to do and live the life I want to live, right? Like we've got everybody's got stuff, right? My again, I always say this, my friend Missy, she says, life is a contact sport. We're meant to be messy, hence the it didn't crush me journey that we're all on. We all have stuff. And once you've gone through that and you've come out on the other side and you're changed, you're a different person, you want to live a life that is indicative and reflective of all the hardships that you've gone through because you feel so good about what you've done and what you've created, what you've accomplished. And if you get to the point where your body can't keep up with you and your body's holding you back, that's
That part,
frustrating. That's where peptides come in.
that part, 110%, right? Like that's a great segue. So you think about it from this perspective. The wisdom we have today with the bodies we had 10, 15 years ago, that's a dangerous combination. Now that's a dangerous combination, right? That's dangerous, right? The wisdom we have today in the model of car per se that we were 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That's it.
Because what do we always say as we're getting older?
I,
We would never go back. God, I would never want to go back because I was so stupid then, right? Like you're just lack experience in the wisdom, but you want the energy that you had then. And now we
that's
can have that.
that's it.
And so
That's
as you were describing your experience, were you still only talking about Simorlin or did some of that
yeah,
blend into the other peptides that you took?
over the Marine stack, the BPC 157 TB 500, definitely an additional value add. I had an autoimmune disease flare up, ulcerative colitis, that attacks the digestive system, your intestinal lining, right? And so with the BPC 157 TB 500, as far as gut health, like, look, had I known about peptides before, I probably would have not got on Entyvio to restore my intestinal lining. Probably would not have, but I did, right? With the Wolverine stack, I absolutely love it. Like I mean, my intestinal wall is ironclad. I feel amazing. No, not feeling bloated. Um, not feeling this uncomfortable in the midsection, no whatsoever. I feel amazing, right? And so, from a recovery and cellular regeneration perspective, recovery, right? BPC 157, TB 500. I mean, aside from just the muscle repair recovery, as far as gut health, gut lining, it's absolutely amazing. My colleagues have customers that have poured in and shared their results from this alone. And it kind of, you do get emotional, right? Because you know that you're doing the right thing. I like to use this acronym. It's called RICH. R stands for recognize, I stands for I, C stands for create, H stands for hope, right?
Yeah.
So when you get that feedback, when you get those stories, and they're just the tip of the iceberg of so many individuals that were suffering, now they're thriving, they're happy go lucky. You're like, yeah, thank you, God, that happened, right? And so it just lets you know that you're working and walking in purpose, right? And so that BPC 157 TB 500 is absolutely amazing. And for NAD plus, right? NAD plus has been taking over Hollywood by storm, right? The anti-aging properties, the brain health, the alertness, the mental acuity. Like again, it's having the wisdom, the intelligence, the vigor, if you will, at this age, but feeling like you're in your 30s, right? Right. It hits a little different. And so it's been those three peptides that I've been using that have worked harmoniously together, synergistically. And I just feel like I am at a much better version of myself these 11 months in than I was prior.
And you're judging yourself not by the way you look on the mirror, but how you're living your life,
Oh,
right?
productivity's through the roof, right? I mean, guys, again, you being breadwinners, you have to be on your A games. A lot that we carry that we don't talk about, right? Like obviously the bills, obviously your spouse, obviously the children, obviously, generating income, obviously managing emotions in the household, outside the house, how you're experiencing. I mean, just we carry a lot, but it's the blessing that we receive as by being men, right? It's a blessing from God to be that, right? But this is all that we carry right now, right? And
I'm
so
sure many men wonder and wonder if there's room for them or feel like there's not enough room for their needs, their desires, their wants, and their feelings because they're trying to do the,
the imposter syndrome is very real with men, right?
yeah.
So I'm gonna make that real transparent. The imposter syndrome is very real. And again, you don't need to suffer in silence anymore. I mean, we've all have experienced it at some point in our life, and some are still experiencing it right now, right?
How bad are you getting rained on right now? Do you need to move or you
Oh
get
no,
a
no, no. Listen,
little sprinkle?
listen, I won't melt.
I love our little Florida sunshine sprinkles.
Absolutely, it's temporary, but you know, I won't melt. I won't
So let me
melt.
bring up a couple points. We talked, so again, by name, the Wolverine stack, and it is kind of what is known in the community. Like you say Wolverine
Correct.
stack to somebody who has spent more than 5 minutes in the peptide world, and they know exactly what that is. And I like to tell people like when Aaron Rodgers returned at 6 months, instead of being out for a year with the Achilles tear,
Correct.
he was on the Wolverine stack.
110%.
Here, when
And
I broke my leg a year and a half ago on Christmas Eve, and I had been in the best shape of my life, I'd been doing it the hard way, right? I was getting the trophy for doing it with exercise and diet and killing myself. Um, and I break my leg, and all of that comes to a screeching halt. Not one doctor, not one orthopedic surgeon, not one human said to me, you can go get this Wolverine stack and it will aid and speed up your recovery because that's what completely stopped my health experience, my health journey. And then I started looking for where is the catalyst going to come from later on.
correct. Correct. Like so, Jeremy Renner, right? Hawkeye, right? He mentioned his peptide stacking and definitely the Wolverine because so I think a year and a half ago he experienced a very severe um accident, right? Snowplower, right?
Yeah,
And
that was
so
bad.
Yeah, yeah. And so he shared what his recovery was, his peptide recovery, and the Wolverine stack was all through that. The BPC 157, TB 500 was all over that, right? And so, it's not only for the wealthy or elite individuals or famous individuals to garner access to peptides. You know, Danielle, you have yours and I have mine as well. So people can always reach out to us to get more information about this. But the beautiful thing about what we do and who we are is that we have pharmaceutically graded peptides, right? We don't have lab tested peptides, right? We have like the best of the best that's really out there, right? So it's a confident feeling knowing that our hearts are in the right place and we can deliver to all of our listeners, all of our customers, and every individual that we touch the best quality that's there for them to experience what the outcomes that we're talking about, right? That
Well,
we know that we have them.
you spent your entire career looking at and examining and seeing up close outcomes. And I want to bring up something because so Momentum is hosting a book club, and we picked up this book, Good Energy by Dr. Casey Means.
Okay,
She's the Surgeon General nominee. She hasn't been confirmed yet. I guess they got some other stuff they're working through right now.
sure.
But I just want to read you a little bit about this, and because you and I are very educated coming from the medical world, but the average person is not. And
Sure.
so Dr. Casey Means right here, she's talking about when she was in residency. It says, during residency, one of my best friends was a cancer surgeon. During the meeting with my mom's doctors, words my friend spoke years before rang in my head. If you walk through the doors of this surgical oncology department, you are going to get an operation, whether you need it or not.
Mm.
If a patient said they wanted to decline surgical intervention, you are marked AMA, meaning you declining medical information against medical advice. Nobody wants an AMA in their chart. That's like they try to scare you and say you don't want an AMA in there. Like honestly, you can decline anything you want in the hospital. But every institution that impacts your health makes more money when you are sick and less than when you are healthy, from hospitals to pharma to medical schools and even insurance companies. And that is so true. And so what I want people to take away from this, men too, like
Let
we
me, let me
all
put a, let me,
are
let me put a pin
joyful.
in that real quick. So let me just kind of give you guys the definition, right? The definition of how providers earn their income, right? It's called RVU, RVU, revenue value unit. When they're in a fee for service platform, which is 98% of hospitals, fee for service is a fee for service. I like to coin it as fee for sickness, right? And so when you understand the MOs of these outfits, you question, right? Just to piggyback on what you just read, that's exactly how they get compensated. It's an RVU, it's a procedure. They get paid for that, right? The more RVUs that they perform, and it's in their contract, the more they earn.
And how much do you think, and I want to give you a second because you're a little bit muffled now that you turned a little bit, so maybe you can adjust where you're
How about
that's
now?
probably going to sound a little bit better.
Okay.
But I can imagine that that also contributes to some of the reason that men don't go to their doctor for things because I hear a lot of times they walk away and they're like, well, that was pointless. I didn't get any valuable information from my doctor. So why am I going to waste my time and money and go when they're not
Right.
helping me anyway?
Right. Again, right? It's a truth, right? And when what's beautiful about it is that providers are now starting to realize that there's an outlet, right? That they can get back to why they decided to become a provider. Not all of them are, you know, not all of them came in to earn money. Most of them came in to really help. Now, I've hired all types of specialties from neurosurgeons to cardiothoracic heart surgeons, from orthopedic surgeons, general surgeons, the family medicine providers, internal medicine providers, CRNAs, MPs, like etc. Right? Like I've hired a full scope of providers, the operations, all of that, right? And 99.9% of them got in this space to help people. right? Or their mother, their father was a provider, and they knew what it was all about. It gave them gratitude. It gave a sense of purpose, and that's it, right? So, but it's always like the politics that comes into play in the healthcare space that kind of, jades things a little bit. But, the beautiful thing about with peptides is that people are starting to notice, and healthcare is starting to notice a significant dip in heart surgeries, right? Because of the cardiovascular perspective, the cardiovascular benefits of these peptides, right? Bariatric surgeons are seeing a dip as well too, because addressing the number one issue of health issues as obesity, right? It's really making a huge shift in the healthcare space where that it's putting the power back to the people, right? And putting, as you said it so eloquently, putting their health back into their hands who cares about it the most, each individual, right? And for that cancer surgeon, that's very true. When you go into this ward, you're going to get suggested a strong suggestion to receive surgery, whether you want or you do not want to receive it. They're going to strongly encourage you to get it, right? And so, knowing how providers and the typical healthcare system earn income, because they got to feed their families as well too, right? It's fee for service. I call it fee for sickness, and it's RVUs. So they look at each person, and so, ladies and gentlemen, when I say RVU, they're looking at you as a revenue value unit. So, in no in no letter does it say person. It says revenue value. And a U doesn't mean you, it's a unit. Let that marinate for a
Yeah,
second.
and I think it's just a hard one for a lot of people our age and a little bit older, the generation right ahead of us, because you grew up with just such a respect for the titles of things like doctors, lawyers, pharmacists. And we all have to remember, guys, we all put our pants on one leg at a time, no matter whether we are a PhD or an electrician or we're the trash truck person picking up. Like we're all human. We all can make errors. And so for the person who is uncomfortable taking such an advocacy role in their own life, but they're really curious, what I would say to you is you reach out, whether it's George or me, what you're friends with George, you're friends with me. What we do is we connect you with the doctor who can access these because you're probably asking, well, why hasn't my doctor told me about this? Number one, you don't have pharmaceutical reps coming in there to educate doctors. Doctors are there in a business of being sick. They're not there to get you well and extra healthy. So you can't fault them because what they don't know is what they don't know. And having to take on this whole peptide world is a whole new operation and system within their practice. And they're just trying to handle the patient load that they have every single day, the changes within the medical reimbursement, what's allowed, what's not allowed, and what their parent company is expecting from them.
Nice.
So we got to give our doctors a little bit of slack, but if you are looking to be connected to a provider of peptides, you can reach out to one of us. You want to learn some more, reach out to one of us. I think, George, we should probably do another one on men's health again, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's all about bringing brand awareness, right? I mean, peptide awareness. And ladies and gentlemen, let me be clear, right? If what you're experiencing is acute, definitely seek 911. Definitely go to your doctor, right? But if it's preventable, and again, whether it's diabetes or whether it be heart or whether it be kidneys or whether it be anything, I mean, aside from obesity and hormonal, anything that's a hormonal shift, that's preventable, right? You can get upstream from that. Now, obviously, if you broke your leg or you're experiencing a tragic, just I mean, like surgery, go get surgery, right? So I'm not saying that, right? I'm not saying peptides are going to heal, a broken leg. You know what I mean? It speeds up the recovery though. But if it's acute, like strongly acute, definitely go in. But for those other things, which the masses of us are experiencing, that's preventable, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, very preventable. And you don't have to go into an urgent care and all that stuff that you could. Peptides are definitely assisting in that realm and that space, right? And ladies and gentlemen, peptides are not going nowhere no time soon. By the year 2030, 70% of individuals in the Americas and worldwide will be on some form of peptide treatment, guys. So if you think it's just going to be a fly by night type thing, no, not when so much good is happening through these miracle molecules. Yeah, it's going to definitely be here for a very long time. So I definitely want to just add that little caveat to what I was sharing earlier.
And I think that is a beautiful thing, right? So again, when you're thinking peptides, that should be synonymous in your mind with next level living, regenerative medicine, restorative health, vitality,
Yes.
vigor.
Yes.
Those are the types of things. And reach out if you have questions. Thank you so much, George, for being here. We will do another one of these, but everybody, if this hit, please share it with somebody who's been through hell and is done playing small. If this hit, share it with your husband, share it with your father, share it with your brother.
Yes.
Guys, reach out. It is okay. There is a place and a space for you, we promise. So don't forget to give it a like, share it with people, and follow us on social because I'm here to make sure you never forget you're not broken, you're becoming, and this is just the beginning, and it didn't crush me.